All right, so welcome. Thanks again for joining us. I am here to chat with you a little bit about the UWC movement, which is an education movement. And I am joined by two wonderful folks, Megan and Bees. We did our intros already, so we won't make you sit through those again for the recording. But just wanted to say a note of welcome and thanks so much for joining us and watching this if you are watching the recording. So I will treat this presentation a bit like it's the first time you're hearing about United World Colleges. We are a global education movement made up of 18 schools and colleges around the world, located across 4 continents with a shared mission. And that mission is that we believe that education is a force, that it is a very powerful force that can unite people, nations, and cultures together to live in a more peaceful and sustainable world. Our movement, our mission, everything was founded in 1962, more than 60 years ago today. With everything that we see happening in the world, from the climate crisis and also our crisis happening in the Middle East and happening in many parts of the world, we know that our mission is as necessary and needed all over. And so what we do is we seek out students who are between the ages of 16 through 19, who are going to constantly be seeking ways around the word can't. And seeking ways to figure out how to move forward as future leaders towards peace and sustainability. Where are our schools? I think this is a really great image to kind of picture where we send students. Every year, the UWC National Committee of Canada supports an average of 50 students in attending these 18 colleges and schools worldwide. Here at Pearson College, this is our UWC at home in Canada. We were the second founded United World College in the world, founded in 1973. Some may argue 1974. We're going to be celebrating our 50th anniversary and birthday next year. Bees on the call is actually a part of year 50, the 50th class to attend Pearson College UWC. Give a wave. How is your first year going, Bees?
It's going really, really well. Yeah, no, I'm loving it here. And everyone's so welcoming.
Are there any highlights for you? Anything that stands out?
Anything that stands out? Well, NARD is coming up, so I'm really excited for that. And just
what is NARD? What is NARD?
NARD is North American Regional Day. So Canada, United States, and Mexico.
Mm-hmm. So UWCs all around the world are typically made up of 200 students. That's the traditional 2-year model. And those 200 students can come from at least 100 different backgrounds and nationalities. And so we do cultural celebration days. We want to celebrate our differences, our cultures, all of the beautiful things that make up our world. And so Pearson College will be hosting a North America Regional Day this Saturday. And so I know our students are excited and practicing their dances and performances for that. I'll just give a highlight. We have 2 students here from Yukon at Pearson College. We have Bees in first year and we have Maddie in their second year here. We also have a student from the Yukon all the way over here in Hong Kong at UWC Li Po Chung in their second year as well. So it's great that we have 3 amazing students from the Yukon studying and gaining different experiences. I'd like to highlight a little bit about what we do in terms of our curriculum. I won't spend a ton of time going into this, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the IB diploma program. The IB diploma program is a liberal arts curriculum. It's really designed to be teaching a student a little bit about everything that matters in the world. And the goal with the International Baccalaureate program is to develop international mindedness. There are about 4,000 schools worldwide that offer the IB diploma program. But the UWC education movement is one of the original schools to help develop this curriculum and turn it into what it is today. I can give you a bit of a better breakdown than this image on the next slide to show you what we do for 2 years. Now, the IB diploma program covers 6 subject areas academically, and these courses are taken over the course of 2 years. So students have to pick a course in the 6 categories that you see, and maybe Bees, I'll put you on the spot and you can tell us, what are you studying for your 6 subjects?
I'm taking, okay, what should we do? Language and art and literature. I'm taking English A, HL, and I'm taking Spanish ab initio. I'm taking global politics, HL, and biology, HL, math, SL, and marine sciences instead of art.
Okay.
So double science.
So what do the SL and HLs stand for?
HL is basically like what is it, like a higher version, higher level, I guess,
You got it.
course. And then the SL is more a standard level.
Yeah.
And so it's just the difference in work.
Difference in work, hours, content.
Yeah.
You learn a lot more when you take something at the higher level. These subjects are worth first year university credit at most universities in Canada if students do well in the courses. They're graded on a 1 through 7 grading scheme. And so if a student is able to achieve a 5, 6, or 7, the majority of Canadian universities will provide them first year university credit. So they're what we call an enriched curriculum, or a higher level curriculum than most of our provincial curriculums that are public designed. And a lot of our public schools actually offer the IB as an enriched opportunity in a lot of urban centers across Canada. So the IB is not as unknown today as it used to be, but it's a really, really strong curriculum, not only because it's designed with the liberal arts in mind, but because it actually also requires 3 key things on top of the 6 courses that students do over the course of their final 2 years of high school. And that is the extended essay, theory of knowledge, and something that we call CAS, creativity, activity, and service. The extended essay is a university level research paper that our students will start to write at the end of their grade 11 year, or their first year here at Pearson or at other UWCs. They'll pick a subject area within one of the 6 courses that they're kind of taking. They'll be matched with a 1-to-1 mentor or teacher who is their extended essay supervisor. And they'll work on that essay over the course of their summer home. And hopefully show back up for their second year at UWC with a first draft or second draft, maybe third draft, where it's almost done. But they're gaining real experience with 1-to-1 mentorship and guidance on how to write a research paper, which is why universities seek out IB students so heavily. And the way UWC does this is through 1-to-1 peer and sort of teacher mentorship with that. But the really exciting piece, I think, is theory of knowledge. It is a course that is sort of what we call the 7th course. It's not, you don't take it in as many hours as you do any of the 6 sort of more academic courses. And don't worry, Bees, I'm going to put you on the spot to talk a little bit about how TOK has been for you. But theory of knowledge is a course that is offered for all IB students that teaches you to question knowledge or question the information that you're receiving, why you accept it, why you receive it. It can be mind-boggling, but it's essentially teaching students how to think critically. So yeah, Bees, how is TOK going for you so far?
It's going really good. There's lots of like philosophy ingrained in it of like, what do we know? How do we know it? And everything like that. We recently had like a kind of an interview thing with the second years of their TOK expeditions. So we're learning more about the expeditions and what to do with that.
Yeah. I think this is a brilliant course. If I geek out a bit as an educator, to be teaching students to think this way, it's probably the hardest course for our students to go through, because it's teaching you really to unlearn so many things. But students constantly quote theory of knowledge as being one of the very best opportunities to learn for the rest of their lives. So it's pretty great. Bees, tell us about what CAS is.
CAS are like the mandatory activities. Like we have them twice a week for 2 hours each time. There's a whole bunch of different ones that you can kind of sign up for. I was lucky enough, I got sustainable fashion, which is a new one, and pottery, which is one that's very exciting and everyone wants that one. And they're going really good. I'm learning all different things, and that mine are very creative, so it gives me a little bit of a outlet to be more creative, because we don't really get to do that very much.
Yeah. So the goal is to make sure that students have a certain amount of hours in creative work, in service work, and in activity. And so the other part, these that you might not realize as CAS here at Pearson, is fitness. And so there are intramurals, there's a cross-country running team, there is outrigger, there's a whole bunch of very focused activity based CAS courses as well. When you compare an IB school here in Canada to a UWC, typically your hours are counted at most IB schools to make sure that you're doing enough work within each area. At UWCs, we don't really count them because it is built into our schedule. Extracurricular activities are things that our students are doing almost every evening in so many ways. And so the other piece that is beyond the curriculum is really the 24/7 learning that happens in our residences with our roommates. And Bees, I keep putting you on the spot, but I would love to know, tell us a little bit about what your room is like, who your roommates are, maybe where they're from, what it's like to live with students from all over the world.
Yeah, I had a little bit of experience living with like roommates beforehand, because I went to school in Whitehorse for Wood Street, so I stayed at the Gadzidza dorms. But yeah, my roommates are amazing. I was a little bit nervous, but at the beginning, but they are fantastic. I've got Amalia from Sweden. She's a second year. Naya from Wales. She's also a second year. And Lena from Hawaii. She's a first year with me. And our room is very bonded and we have a great time. We even have a room tea every week.
That's really cool. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the ways to apply and be considered. And this is when we'll get really specific into what to do if you're a student in the Yukon. There are 2 application routes that students can take all over the world to be considered for UWC. When you apply to UWC, you are applying to our education movement as a whole. You're not applying directly to one of the 18 campuses. So there are 2 ways. The first is called the UWC Global Selections Program. The second is through the National Committee selections process. Now, I'm here representing the UWC National Committee of Canada, and so our presentation will really focus on the National Committee process, but I'll highlight the core difference between the 2. The core difference is if you want to be considered for a government scholarship or financial aid, you need to apply through the National Committee. If you have the privilege to be able to apply and not be considered for scholarships or financial aid, you can apply directly through the global selections process. Pretty straightforward, I'm hoping. When we talk about scholarships and financial assistance, you'll notice that I use them at the same time because they're not the same. In Canada, we tend to say scholarships a lot when we talk about funding for post-secondary and school in general. Financial assistance or financial aid, they're, for me, as someone in education, an American term, not something that we typically use that much here up north. But it is important to highlight because UWC is a global education movement, and they actually run, in a very global way. And so I try to translate what this means. to all Canadians when they're applying. And then we can really be specific for the region, because not all regions in Canada have the support of a government scholarship. So a couple things that we're really, really proud of in how we do our application and selections process for UWC. First is that students are selected entirely based on merit and not on their capacity to pay. This means that we do need blind selections. It means that we're not asking about your capacity to pay until you have been selected as a finalist. More than 80% of our students are at UWCs on full or partial scholarships. Really what that means is they're on full or partial financial aid or scholarships in the way that we would talk about it in Canada. That's the gist. We're very, very proud of that statistic, and it is one of the core things that makes us a lot different from other international private schools. So let's talk a little bit about what's available to you if you are coming from Yukon. We're so lucky to have a relationship where the Yukon government, alongside Pearson College, have an agreement which supports one student per year in attending Pearson College. The value is listed on the slide. It's $70,000 a year to attend Pearson College. And so the total value of that scholarship is $140,000 for 2 years. You'll notice that I've highlighted what students must be able to cover. You will have to be able to afford your own transportation costs. So it could cost a little bit more to attend a UWC than it would to attend a public school. But we really do feel that it is quite worth it in terms of what that cost is. So your transportation costs twice a year from home to Pearson, as well as any additional fees. And those additional fees can be between $2,500 to $3,500 a year. If that is going to be a challenge, there are ways for the National Committee and Pearson to try to support that for your family. But typically this would be the cost if you are the recipient of this government scholarship. Megan, did I miss anything from your end?
Nothing yet, and I'm learning a lot. Thank you, Lindsay.
Hey, I'm so glad. So one of the things that you'll have noticed a bit from the slide before is that we lean on this term capacity to pay. And I'm just going to re-highlight it, because one of the core things for our movement is that we really don't want I can't go to be something that a student says if they are selected as a finalist. And we're really adamant that we're supporting as diverse a student population as possible. And so one of our mandates within UWC is that we do consider financial need and financial aid as much as we can, so that we have socioeconomic diversity at our school as much as we have nationality diversity and religious diversity and cultural diversity in all of those ways. We know that the world really does run in sort of a classist structure, and we want to make sure that we have representation from every level in Canada and around the world. So when it comes to financial aid, we do financial aid assessments for families, and we work with the families to decide what is a fair amount that the family can afford to pay. I'm highlighting this because we have every year more than one amazing candidate that applies from the Yukon for this scholarship. And so if you happen to be the student that is the runner-up for the scholarship or in third place, you would be invited as a finalist to go through a financial aid assessment to be considered for further aid and support in placing you at another UWC. This year, for the first time, we've also been working with Megan and the folks with the Yukon government to try to consider financial need as an aspect to make sure that we're maximizing the opportunities for Yukon students to access a UWC education. That's the goal. We want to be able to send more than one of you into the movement every year. How do we select in terms of becoming a finalist? We look at 6 core UWC criteria. You can see them here on the slide, but I will go through them with you and give you a bit of an example for each one, because you've got to get some tips and tricks for showing up and watching the webinar this far in. So the first is intellectual curiosity and motivation. We're a school at heart. We have an academic curriculum. We want students who want to learn. That's critical. Learning about a variety of things from your standard high school curriculum may not be what excites you, but learning, about marine science might really be something that excites you. And so we want to know what you are curious about, what you want to learn more about. That's what we're looking for evidence of in your application. We're looking to see if you've actively been committed to activities and engagements that align with your values as well as UWC's values. So have you been engaged in your community? Do you care about sustainability? Have you been a leader in a club where you've had to lead others? We're looking for all of that evidence in your application. Social competence is relationships and how you interact with others. Will you be able to interact with students who think very differently from you, with adults who think very differently from you? Will you be able to approach those people with an open mind and be able to be respectful and engage in those kinds of discussions? When you are challenged, we will seek resilience and the ability to be able to self-reflect, become aware of yourself and how you engage with others, how certain situations can make you feel, and can you lead as an individual? Can you be independent away from your family, away from your home community? This is a hard 2 years. This is not going to be easy. There are going to be times where you really need to lean into strong coping mechanisms to handle the challenge. And so we're seeking evidence of times where you may have been challenged in the past and how you have pursued reflection in that way. We're looking for personal responsibility and integrity. When you are put into a situation that is challenging, do you lean into your values and do the right thing? That's definitely an area that our students are constantly challenged with and are constantly learning as they go. Being able to be kind to yourself as you make the right decisions or the wrong decisions and move through the 2 years that you're here with us takes a lot of integrity. And finally, academic robustness. It's hard academically to be here as well. The IB is an enriched curriculum. So this is also why we highly recommend that you apply when you're in grade 11 or grade 12. While I highlighted our eligibility for admission is 16 to 19 years of age, we know that our students are most successful and actually thrive at UWC when they have applied after already completing grade 11 at home. So applying when you're in grade 11 is what we recommend. If you're a little bit older than that, that's okay too. That's even better. But we do really recommend that you apply when you're in grade 11. Does that mean you can't apply if you're in grade 10? No, we encourage you to apply, gain some experience through the application. And we have had students successfully admitted at grade 10 as well, So it's a recommendation, and it's a recommendation for a reason. I believe to be considered for the Yukon scholarship, however, you must be in grade 11 or grade 12.
That's correct, Lindsay. Thanks for that.
Okay, perfect. That's what we are doing our selections on. I think there's one more slide that I'm just going to highlight. We're coming up very, very close to our application deadline. So if you are considering applying to UWC this year, you've got about 2 weeks left. And I'll just briefly show you what this process kind of looks like. And Bees, feel free to highlight. It might have looked a little bit different for you, but let's see. We do an application process. That's what the deadline is for, November 1st. If you make it past the reading stage, you would be invited to a virtual group activity. That virtual group activity is assessed by a variety of UWC alumni and selectors from across Canada. If you make it through that, you'll be invited to an interview. The first interview for Yukon students would occur with the UWC alumni evaluation team. If you're invited to be considered for the government scholarship, you'll do a second interview with the government selections team. If you are the winner of the government scholarship, you are automatically matched to Pearson College because that is the relationship that we have developed. But let's say you're the runner-up and you do not receive the government scholarship, you can be considered for our other UWC campuses and go through the financial aid assessment so that we can match you to a campus that will provide you with the financial aid that you may need. Make it through all of that, you will receive ideally an offer of admission from the school because we will send an official nomination on behalf of the UWC National Committee of Canada. And once you have an offer of admission, everything's complete and you start onboarding. You start getting ready for your next 2 years. That's the process. It does take a while. It can take a few months. I believe students are informed if they are the government scholarship recipient in late December, early January. If you are the runner-up, or in, depending on the year, we've had as many as 3 runner-ups for the scholarship, we would move you forward as a finalist, and you would know by the end of March if we've been able to find you a match within the UWC movement. Okay, well, that's it for the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just see, while we are recording, if there are any questions that folks want to have, or if there's anything that maybe Megan or Bees would like to highlight.
Bees, you go first if you'd like, but I do have something I'd love to add.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you, Bees. I just wanted to note that that students interested in applying do apply through UWC, and that the government has this arrangement or partnership, but your application does go through UWC.
Yeah, you end up emailing with me and I guide you through the process. How was it overall for you last year, Bees?
It was good. It was good. It was a little stressful. I remember doing my written application I think the weekend before, because I had a big school trip going on to Haida Gwaii.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 interviews was different than when Paige and Maddie did it. So that was a bit but it was good. It was good. Yeah.
Is there any tips or tricks that you feel like, since you've been successful through the process, that you would share with any other applicants?
I would say just I know it's very cliche, but be yourself as much as possible, because that's all that really matters, and that's what will carry you through the application process, I think, being true to yourself. So yeah,
it's really good advice. And yeah, really wish to echo that, being who you are and not trying to be someone you think the selections committee wants to hear about, but being who you actually are really maintains the diversity aspect. We're not looking for one particular type of student. We are really looking for students that have the skills and the criteria that we've highlighted, which is very, very open to interpretation. So the more you are who you are, the better, because then we'll really know if UWC is the right fit. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think what I will do is I'll end the recording. Yeah, there we go. Let's end it.